more light and less heat. Tell me about your confrontation with Julia Hartley-Brewer and people drowning. Let them drown. What's the story?
So my policy and Reform UK's policy is to stop the boats in the channel and make them go back to France. If they can make the journey 12.5 miles to the point of our territorial water, they can make the journey back to France. And border control cannot be delivered through deportation, which is what the current policy is. And effectively, our weakness in patrolling our borders is right across Europe, by the way, not just the United Kingdom, is encouraging people to make illegal journeys. They can see that there's no political will to actually physically stop people moving. And we've got to stop that in the channel. The channel used to be a moat for the United Kingdom, protecting us. It's become our Achilles heel because there's no political will to actually stop the boats. So what I was saying to Julia is that you've got to stop the boats in the channel. And she said, well, when you stop them, and this is the mistake I made because I got caught in a hypothetical discussion with her. Never do that as a politician, and I should have known better. She said, if you try and stop these boats, they'll get knives out and they'll stab their dinghies and they'll fall into the North Sea and you'll have to rescue them. And once you rescue them, you'll have to bring them back to Blighty. And I said, well, if they stab their own boat, I should have asked where the hell they got this hypothetical knife from. But assuming they stab their boat and they end up in the water, I said, one of the things you could do, though it's not for me to offer up solutions, is present them with another boat, another dinghy, and they could climb back into that. They could climb into that dinghy and go back to France. He said, well, what if they slash that boat? And what if they keep slashing boats and they effectively refuse rescue? And I said, well, at that point, you can't go on infantilizing these people. If they've left a perfectly safe country, France, they're seeking illegally to enter your water, they put themselves in harm's way deliberately, well, that's their prerogative. And she said, would you let them drown in those circumstances? And I gave her the gotcha moment she was looking for because I got frustrated with her line of questioning. I said, yeah, let them drown. But of course, that's not what I was saying. I was saying, send them back to France. And these people are not suicide bombers. And by the way, if they are suicide bombers, I hope they do go back to France. But they're not suicide bombers. They're economic migrants. They're safe in France. They're coming to the UK for a better life. They're not likely to wish to have a close encounter with the ice cold seas of the North Sea. And her premise was fundamentally flawed. And the Belgians, by the way, turned back boats that seek to leave their shores using a dedicated new force they developed, drones, sensors, barriers, fast boats, well-armed, a coast guard. And they've reduced boat launches from Belgian shores by 92%. So it is absolutely possible to do what I'm suggesting, that the boats must be stopped in the sea. And by the way, if we want this illegal trade in people to stop, France needs to enforce its borders. Switzerland, Italy, Germany, Slovenia, Greece, the Balkan countries, they all need to enforce borders. What we've forgotten, and Johnny will attest to this because I know he's listening to what he said, he's very attuned to the globalist agenda. We've removed borders in the pursuit of some kind of global harmony. Europe has removed its borders. The Schengen zone is the daftest invention on the planet. Borders emerged over thousands of years for the protection of the communities, tribes, and nations that they bound. And you have to physically protect them. And we've stopped doing it. So I say to Julia Hartley-Brewer, naughty girl, shouldn't have taken me down that hypothetical discussion. And the only way to stop the boat is to physically stop them in the channel.
So very, very clear, because Julia, I know very well and have a lot of respect for. In answer to her question, Ben, would you let them drown?
In answer to her hypothetical question, I didn't say let them drown. I said give them another boat. And then she got into this ridiculous notion that every attempt made to rescue them will be thwarted unless we bring them back to the UK. And at that point, I gave her the gotcha moment that she was seeking, and the one that you may now be seeking as well, so it can be clipped. And I ain't going to give it to you, Andrew.
I would never give you a gotcha moment. I always in search of the truth, as you know.
I'm chastened now. I'm chastened because I trusted Julia. I thought we were having an honest conversation.
Well, I think, and also what the reform spokesperson has said is that the policy is clear and simple: pick up and safely take back to France. That's your policy, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Critically analyzing global affairs, the Muckrakers on today's News Talk TNT.